Okay, hello. This is gonna be my, I guess, tutorial of the new fairy warpot hover thingamabob for I guess what you would get to get to that level. I guess I don't know what else really to say. Usually, if you're familiar with any percent no MSS or maybe any percent that doesn't implement PG skip, you're doing that route. You usually have to shoot a fire arrow at the Morse and pray to God that the lid burns. It's like a 1 in 30 chance, kind of lame. And sometimes it could like take a million years. So there's some alternatives. What you used to do is just suicide hover and then drop a bomb and then just die, and then come back. That's pretty slow to the point where you can probably get like a bunch of tries and of just reloading the room from the crush of the chains and hope the morse worked. But more recently, we found out that you can actually live by getting healed by the fairy during the warp pot, like burning or like I guess breaking the lid cutscene because can't die during it. Even if like if you when you're dead you land and you don't die and the fairy heals you just before the cutscene ends so that you barely live to tell the tale and it's a little bit faster then because you don't have to walk all the way back. You still have the damage down, but it's not the worst. It's a pretty good trade-off. It's still slower than 2 tries of Morse. I think it barely breaks even or is also slower than 3 tries, but it is pretty. I'm pretty sure it's faster than 4 tries. So this is a nice alternative. A kind of little more difficult than it seems, and also, but at least eliminates the RNG. So if you don't like the RNG, this is an alternative you could do. It isn't exactly a deal breaker. You don't have to run all the way back. So I'm assuming you know how to hover, because you kind of do have to know how to hover. I'm assuming if you do these categories, whether it be like leaf hover or even morph hover. I'd say this is in the middle of difficulty between those two. Morph hover, it's pretty slick, pretty short hover, not that bad. Leaf hover can be pretty difficult. This one's not too bad. You don't have to go crazy fast. And start off with. Oh, I mentioned hovers, but you also should know how to do bomb pulls. I'll go over that a little more in depth because they're kind of a little more uncommon. You probably only really ever see them like when I say bomb pulls, I mean like pulling bombs during hovers. Usually only do it for things like PG skip, and I guess the old method breeds suicide. Luckily for us, these bomb pools are nowhere near as precise as PG skip. It's pretty lenient, so it's not as crazy difficult, but it's like the same general concept. And I'll go a little more in depth on the inputs when we get there, because again, they're not really something you do that often in most categories. So what I like to do is start off on this line right here, this line that connects like the outward intersections of like the catwalks coming from the side and see up and then line up the Japanese character to barely not touch the top edge of the catwalk it's next to. So that leftmost Japanese character with the B button is barely not flush with the edge, top edge of that catwalk. And then, you damage down to a quarter heart. And then you pull a bomb. And then, you start the hover. For this angle, you don't want to slash the bomb. You just want to hold it or like just wait because if you slash the bomb, your angle changes, and that misaligns you. I mean, you could easily just find an angle, like aim a little bit more left, and then it's the point where it corrects for that angle change, and then I don't know why I pulled leaf there, and then you'd be lined up. I'm not exactly sure what that angle would be, and sorry, but I don't really feel like going out of the way to find it right now. It shouldn't be that bad. It should be pretty easy to find with trial and error. So if you really care about not waiting that entire time, just aim left a couple times, slash, go up and see if you're lined up. I just don't want to. I don't really feel like doing that right now, if I'm being honest. Yeah, it's pretty quick to do, but I just don't want to do it. So yeah. But the general concept is the same. Just line up with the pot, whether you do it the way I do it or whether you find a slightly different angle to adjust for that offset to slash. So assuming you do it my way, you just back up a little bit. You don't want to go too far back because we'll hit the wall. Actually, wait, you can go a little further back. You kind of want to give yourself as much space as possible. You don't need it. Like, you can easily start from here, too, if you're really good at mashing. But, why make it hard on yourself? So, I'll just show it, like, in the safest scenario possible. Back up a bit. Be careful with the wall. It kind of sticks out invisibly more than you would think. So just don't hit it. Start the hover, and let's start mashing. Be careful with this pull right here. If you get too close to it, you like snap to it, land on it, and die. So try to go over it. Could go under it, but again, you want to try to gain as much height as possible. You don't want to go too high. That could be an issue. Well, yes and no. Oh, I don't just dropped a lot. My bad. Make a safe state. Shouldn't be a problem. But we're playing like once you get to like the bomb drop, I'll explain again when I get there. We're playing like a stalling game. You want to stall as long as you can without wasting too much time. So if you're like too crazy high, it's possible you might accidentally stall too long. And I'll explain what that means when I get there. So input a leaf pull, and that lets you adjust the camera upwards so you get a better angle. And continue hovering. And then I get to about the middle of the two pots with my shadow, and I do the bomb pull. So how to do a bomb pull, it's pretty much a bomb input during a hover, and then followed by a leaf input during the hover. The bomb pull starts pulling the Link starts pulling the bomb, and the leaf pulls the leaf and drops the bomb that Link was holding. The frame that you drop it on kind of has a pretty big impact on how it affects Link's position. But that's kind of going too deep, and luckily for us, like I mentioned, this is nowhere near as precise as PG skips. So all we're concerned about is keeping this same linear path we're on and not changing our position or our trajectory. So we can get away with that with either a first frame bomb pull, which is kind of hard, or luckily for us, we can just do an overly late bomb pull where the bomb is above Link's head, and it'll achieve that same thing where we'll only ever go in front or behind of the bomb, and it won't push us to the side at all. So let me just show that. Pull a bomb, and then it's above his head. And once it's fully above its head, that's what I mean by a late bomb pull. So let me kind of show that. So middle shadow between the two things is if you're not close enough by dropping the bomb, it won't blow up the pot. And that's bad. You want the pot to blow up because you want the fairy. So I'm just buffering this to show it slowly. Pull the bomb, Link starts pulling the bomb, wait for it to be above his head, input the leaf. And now another little small intricacy, I guess. You obviously want to keep on mashing B, so you start hovering again, so you pull start and start hovering because you don't want to fall and die. However, oh god, okay, that's fine. I didn't change anything. I got scared. I pressed the button. Like I mentioned, we're only going to go in front or behind the bomb. However, what decides that is the timing of the B slash. So if you time the B slash right, you'll go behind it, but otherwise you'd probably go in front of it. Like again, this is not precise, so it doesn't really matter what you do here. It's not really that important. Preferably at this point, you're trying to stall as much time before getting to above the pot so that you have to stall less time there. Because the more time you have to eat there, the scarier it gets, and it'll make more sense when I get there. But yeah, so how to go behind it, if you're really interested, is you wait a few frames after pulling the leaf, and then you input the B press, and you'll go behind it. If you press B immediately, you go in front of it, and then I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure if you wait too long, eventually you might go in front of it also. But again, not too important. Doesn't really matter for this, but if I were to choose, I would say go behind it. But that's how you go behind it, is you delay your B press ever so slightly. And then you continue hovering. Let me make a save state, just in case I mess something up. Sorry, I had a quick delay. So yeah, I had to do something real quick. So yeah, you pull the bomb, input the leaf, wait a second, delay the B press, then you go behind it, and you want to continue hovering. Kind of go slow because you don't want to go too fast because we're trying to stall for the bomb to explode because you don't want to go past it, obviously. You don't if you go past the bomb pot, the fairy pot, that's bad. You're probably gonna miss. And once you're above it, you kind of just want to tap a leaf so you retain your height, and then hopefully you land on the fairy, because once the cutscene starts playing, you can't do inputs anymore, so Link just falls to the ground. And hopefully you land right on the fairy and heal during the cutscene, and then you survive, because by the time the game comes back and is able to check if you're dead, you heal by the fairy. It's really important to land on the fairy because it moves once it spawns randomly, so you want to try to get it as soon as possible. And that's kind of where the difficulty of this trick kind of comes in, because if you come back to here, let me get back here, and then I'll make a save state when I get closer. Just pull the bomb again, late bomb pull the leaf, delay the B press a little bit. I kind of waited too long there, but it's fine. I'm stalling anyways. You want to stall as much as you can, because you get above here, right? The height you have relative to the pot kind of does matter. So as I mentioned, the fairy moves, and it moves during the cutscene. So if you're too high, you'll start falling, but the fairy will have time to move out of the way, if that makes sense. And it's possible that it could move out of the way, and by the time you get down on the floor, it's gone, and then the cutscene ends, and the fairy never hit you, and then you die. It's possible for it to fly into you still at that point, but why? You're pretty much just doing like the old fairy hover at that point. It's RNG. You just hit the parade hits you, and that's not the point of this backup. So going too high, you might take too long to go to the fairy and then move out of the way, and then it won't work. If you're too low, let me show what happens. You'll get hit by the, I guess, here. I don't know if I can do it in this one. I might have to make another save state. I get hit by the pot, you see, and then, I mean, by the bomb. I kind of exaggerated how low I went. You can be higher than that a little bit and you'll still get hit, but you'll get hit by the pot, or the bomb, and then it'll knock you out of the way of the fairy, and that's not good. So you can't go too high, and you can't go too low. Again, if you go too high, you miss the fairy. If you go too low, you get hit by the bomb possibly, and it knocks you out of the way, and there's almost no chance you get the fairy. So you want to find that sweet spot. So just tap leaf a couple times, and you'll land on it. One thing I will say is, I have infinite magic on, unfortunately, but, like, doing this really fast really sucks at your, like, it really sucks away at your magic really quick. If you know how they, like, if you're familiar with the game, every time you put a leaf like this, it takes, like, one, like, little notch away. Kind of, like, I think it's, like, a pretty decent amount, and it does that every single time you do that, so this quickly eats away at your magic. So you need magic to spam that quickly. If you stall well enough, you don't have to pull as many leaves. So, like, if you are higher up, and you can kind of do more of a falling motion as opposed to only going forward, you can kind of do, like, if you're too high, you can do more of this towards the bomb, and it lets you stall more time, because you go forward slowly, and then you have less time to stall when you get above the pot, and you can do less pulls. So that's an option. So you might not need as much magic for that, but if you're, like, in the position where I was kind of pretty low height-wise for the hover, I kind of didn't have much room to play with for that, so I had to spam a lot more leaf pulls, and it's really important you have magic. So what I'd recommend is just, before you start, grab some magic here and make sure you're full. If you're full, you're probably fine. You can get away with, like, going a little, like, trigger happy with the leaves, and you'll probably land on it. So yeah, that's how to do it. Hopefully everything made sense. And then, once you survive, you just damage down again, and then you continue with more hover. The nice thing about this, well, it's not really a nice thing, but let's say you fail somehow, right? At least at the end of the day, as long as you drop the bomb, even if, like, you're too high and you miss the fairy, or you're too low and you get hit by the bomb, at least you break the pot loose. So worst case, it's just the old suicide backup and you just come back. So, like, failing it is pretty bad, but, like, you still get something out of it. So, it's not the worst L to hold in the world, but, yeah, that's how you do it. So hopefully everything made sense. Feel free to ask any more questions if it doesn't. I'm not the greatest at explaining things, so I think this will make do, though. So yeah, thank you, and yeah, good luck with, running this game. Cool, peace.